Hi, welcome to my podcast, Help Me Rhonda. I'm your host, dr.rhonda.karg. I'm a clinical psychologist, and each episode of this podcast, I share mental health related information with you in hopes that you'll gain insight into your own behavior and also learn new skills that will help you with your mental health. So, today I'd like to talk about limerence. And limerence is the state of infatuation and obsession about the object of their affection, the limerent object. And it's basically having a perspective on someone else that's unrealistic. You believe that the person that you have this limerence towards is perfect. You don't see any flaws in them at all. You obsessively spend time thinking about them and their wonderful qualities, and you make up stories about what will happen with the two of you in the future, and you can just tell that you guys are meant to be together, and you spend a lot of time thinking about your future together and thinking about the the feelings that this person has for you, and reading into the things that that limerent object does, reading into it in terms of the meaning and the significance of it. It's being completely consumed with this person in a way that goes beyond just a crush. It goes to the point of fantasy. It goes to a place of not based in reality. And limerence can manifest itself in lots of different ways. So limerence could manifest itself as a person developing an obsession based on a brief conversation that they had on the plane with someone sitting next to them. And they sensed a very deep connection with this person. They could even describe it as love at first sight. They develop this obsessive thinking about and talking about this person and the significance of the connection, and you can you can really appear to be talking about someone amazing the way that you're describing them to people, but before long people are starting to think you may not really have a true appreciation for who this person is. Maybe you are literally blinded by the light. Remember that song from the 70s? It was such a good song. Blinded by the light, and you just are seeing all the positives and none of the negatives. And as a matter of fact, you're even attributing things to them that are not even based in reality. So it could be some situation like that. It could be a married person who develops limerence with a coworker, and it is this intense, obsessive thinking about this other person in a way that you're using the idea of being with this person in order to escape from maybe something else that's going on in your life that's causing anxiety, or to develop a sense of excitement in your life. Maybe unconsciously you're just looking for some excitement and escape from the reality of your current relationship. So limerence can take on that look as well. Or it can also look like somebody that's in what I call or what is called a situationship, meaning you think that there's more there, but in reality, that person sees you as a casual sex partner, and that's it. They don't consider you to be someone that they have feelings for. Your feelings are not reciprocated with this person at all. And so limerence can also manifest itself in that way in situationships, believing that what's actually there is something more than it really is for that other person, and your feelings are not reciprocated. That's another limerent situation. You can be in a limerent state for hours, days, weeks, years even, and not even realize that you're in this state of fantasy about who this person is. I mean, another way that limerence can play itself out between two people is that a person can get into a relationship with someone based on their fantasies of who that person is. And then guess what happens is you get to know that person better. You realize that they do have flaws. They do have things that you don't like. And for someone that enters into a relationship during a state of limerence will quickly find out that this person is not who they appeared to be in their mind. The fantasy they had was what made them want to be in a relationship, not reality, not who the person actually is. And imagine a person in a limerent state who starts realizing that their partner is actually human and does have things about them that they don't love. Imagine what that can do to a person. Imagine that that person in limerence expresses very intense displeasure with their partner for not living up to their expectations of who they thought this person was. And they have a hard time letting go of the idea they had about this person and how perfect they were. And they can start becoming very critical. You know, this person, this fantasy they had about this person was so unrealistic that a lot of the things this person is doing is triggering the person in the limerent state, because they're being disappointed left and right because this person doesn't meet the expectations of the fantasy they had in their mind about who this person was. That's another way that limerence can happen between two people. It could be limerence about a celebrity that you've never even met before. You can make up an entire fantasy about this person having the same feelings for you that you have for them. It can even go so far that we would call it a delusion. If you are 100% convinced that someone like a celebrity is in love with you, then, and there's no basis in reality for that, we might call that a delusion. We may call it psychosis. But it doesn't have to be that extreme for us to consider it an important problem for someone to have. Because they can set their partner up for expectations that are unrealistic, and the relationship is going to be fraught with drama because how dare you not do what I thought you should do based on my fantasy of who you are. That's not fair to that other person, is it? It can play itself out like that. It can be obsessively thinking about someone so much that other things in your life just don't give you the same thrill. Maybe you stop losing interest in other things that you used to do, like you stop working out or you stop taking care of your health. Or maybe you start doing a bad job at work because you're up here in your head about the limerent object. Then we would say that it's a problem. When it starts either causing distress for you, or it's causing problems in your relationships, it's causing problems at work or school because it's interfering with your performance, it's affecting you financially, or it's affecting some other important part of your life, then we would say that it's clinically significant, and it would be an area that we would target. If you were to come to me and see me for therapy, we would target the limerence together. Now, where does limerence come from? Usually limerence happens for people who have not healed the wounds that they have from their childhood. A lot of times people that engage in limerence very desperately want love. They are what I call love starved. Maybe they never felt unconditional love and support from anyone. Maybe they didn't get that when they were growing up. And as a result of that, as an adult, they can be desperate for love from someone else, especially unconditional love. Okay? And so having fantasies about relationships with people can oftentimes culminate from that background, feeling very lonely, not feeling enough meaningful connections with other people. And so in order to have that connection, which it's in our DNA to want connection with other people, connection with other people is important for most of us. It has allowed us to survive as a species, being connected with other people. There's a very strong biological, evolutionary component to infatuation. At the same time, it's not something that should be a state for us long term. We can develop infatuation. We can start falling in love with someone and believe that they are perfect and believe that they're an incredible person. That's not what I'm talking about here. Okay? That's that level of infatuation is quite normal in the beginning. But what is not normal is when it starts interfering with your life and you have trouble working or going to school. You lack energy to go and do a lot of other things because you're always up in your head about this person. You maybe give up things that used to be important to you because this fantasy that you have about this relationship with this person that doesn't exist is just that consuming to you. Individuals that have a predisposition or a propensity to engage in obsessive compulsive behavior or OCD will also be at risk for developing limerence because it has that obsessive quality about it. So if you have a tendency to get obsessive about things, then it would be a good idea for you to develop a couple strategies for helping you to stay grounded in reality. Because a lot of times when you're in a limerent state, you may not recognize it. Maybe other people around you recognize it, but you might. If you know someone that you think might be in a limerent state, you could even talk to them about it and say, hey, I noticed that you don't ever talk about anything negative or neutral about this other person, and you seem to kind of think of them as being perfect, and just kind of talk to them about it and see if they recognize that this person does actually have things about them that make them human. They do actually have a belly button. They there are things about them that are not perfect. You can talk to people about the possibility that they're in a limerent state. That might actually be doing them a favor if you recognize that it's leading to problems in their life. Imagine someone that you love and care about being in a limerent state with someone who is very toxic, someone who is abusive, someone who is using that person that you love and care about. And they're in this limerent state about who this person is. And in the meantime, they're being harmed financially. They are wasting time with someone that maybe really doesn't care about them because they so desperately want to be loved. People who have been abandoned as kids, either physically abandoned, emotionally abandoned by their parents, people that have been abandoned, that have very strong abandonment fears, also at risk for developing limerence with someone else, okay? It is that longing to be loved, longing for that limerent object to have the same feelings for you, but they don't. In your mind, they do, because you so desperately want it that you're creating it in your mind. So learn more about limerence. If I've talked about anything today that really resonates with you, and maybe you've had limerence in your life before, and if that's true, I would really encourage you to learn more about limerence. There's some really good creators on YouTube that talk about limerence and ways that you can notice it in your own behavior, identify it, and then do something about it. And I'm going to do another follow-up video to this that talks more about what to do if you're in a limerent state. Okay, but today I just wanted to introduce you to the idea of limerence and how it can manifest itself in relationships with people. And there are lots of different faces of limerence. So again, if you heard anything today that sounds familiar either with you or with someone else, please share the video with them. Also look into other resources that are out there on limerence. It's gaining more popularity in the last few years. So there are a few creators out there that are talking about it in addition to me. So look into it more and come back and see my next video about what to do if you're in a limerent state. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I appreciate your support. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day.